This is the lesson for grade 12 essential math, and we're on lesson 4 of vehicle finance, and we are studying vehicle insurance. All right, we got some blanks to fill in. Let's see how many of them you guys can guess before I have to tell you what they are. Oops, I just knocked over my microphone. When you purchase or lease a vehicle, you are required by law to blank it. Insure is actually the second blank. To buy license plates for it and to buy insurance. That's the word we want in the first blank. So the second blank was insurance. That was a good guess. That was the second blank. But the first blank is register. You have to register. You can't just buy a vehicle and start driving. It has to be registered. Vehicle insurance systems and regulations vary depending on your location. In Manitoba, coverage must be purchased from blank, 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 and of course the letters for that are M, P, and I. Manitoba Public Insurance. Under the provincial insurance system, so the name of the corporation that we deal with is called the Manitoba Public, that's a P, oh, that looks like a D, I'm going to rewrite that. Manitoba Public Insurance Corporation, MPI. I think there's a C on it sometimes, MPIC for corporation. So that's the name of the corporation, but the actual system that they use is called what? It's actually already on this page somewhere, it begins with an A. Autopac is correct. And just like in home finance, just like actually even if you got life insurance, for whatever reason, and I don't know what this is, most everything else you pay for when you say, hey, what are you paying? You'd say, I'm paying a fee, I'm paying a cost. The word they use in insurance is very fancy sounding. You pay a, begins with a P. Nope. A premium. It's like, ooh, is that like at the gas station when you get the gas that's better than the cleaner than the other gas? It's premium and unleaded? And no, premium is just the word they use for the fee that it costs you to buy insurance. Okay, so somebody already heard a little bit of murmuring there about how, yeah, we all have to pay with MPIC. I'm sure some of you must still watch television once in a while. I know your generation's probably more online than on TV, and when Gen X is gone, that might be it for network television. But if you do watch American network television, boy, don't you see a lot of car insurance commercials? There's that little gecko trying to get you to switch to Geico, and there's the State Farm guys, and why don't we have any of those commercials here in Canada? Well, because there's actually only 2 provinces where you can buy privately sold insurance. And if you do want to try to, if you do follow the argument that, hey, this should be the, what is this, communism? Why are we paying the government to insure our vehicle? There should be a free market system, and we should be able to shop around, and that competition and open market would lead to the best prices for us consumers. Well, don't be so sure about that. If you're wondering where we rank compared to other provinces, well, there's the ranking. British Columbia has the most expensive car insurance. We're about in the middle, actually closer to the bottom. And remember I told you that there was 2 provinces where you actually don't pay the government for your car insurance? It's open to private companies to sell you insurance? Gee, won't that save the customers and the consumers lots of money? No, they are number 2 and number 3 out of 10. So somehow BC is like us. It's government, and there are more. But that may have something to do with just how much more dangerous driving is in all the mountains and stuff. Even in the city, there's just no such thing as a flat street out west. And they get freezing rain a lot. They don't get much snow, but freezing rain happens a lot. So you add hilly, curvy streets to freezing rain, and I think they just have more accidents than we do. So that might be the problem there. Also, I think probably a higher percentage of people. It's a wealthier province, a higher percentage of people with more expensive vehicles. But yeah, once you take BC out of the equation, the most expensive places are the ones where the government isn't running the actual auto insurance. And if you want to know what the numbers are, here it is. BC leads the way. This is an average. You probably remember from last year, or maybe even back in grade 8, the word average is not a specific thing. Everybody thinks, oh, average. Add everything up and divide by how many things. That's a specific thing called a mean average. I have a feeling this is a median average. Remember the difference between mean and median? Median's when you line them all up and whatever's in the middle you take. I have a feeling these are median averages. So half of BC pays more than this, half pays less. And then we're down here. The average person in Manitoba is spending $1,140 a year to insure a vehicle. Divide that by 12. What's that? A little under $100 a month. Okay, now that's the average, and again, I think that's a median. So half would be more, half would be less. Let's see where we end up. Okay, first we got to finish the notes though. Let's see. What are the actual factors that determine the cost of your vehicle? Well, number one is, of course, what type of vehicle it is. A more expensive vehicle would be more expensive to fix and replace if it gets destroyed. So obviously you're going to pay more for the insurance. That just seems logical, right? But also how old it is, what condition it's in. So the year, the make, and the model. That's the type of vehicle you have. Some vehicles withstand collisions better than others. So the vehicle characteristics, right? Should put an S on that. There. The vehicle characteristics are kind of the main thing that they base how much they're going to charge you for insurance. Like, you know, is it a vehicle that would be easily damaged in a collision? Is it a vehicle where when it is damaged in a collision, it's got very expensive parts that need replacing, whereas, you know, some vehicles have cheaper parts that need replacing? All of those stuff gets factored into how much you're paying for your premium for your insurance. Now, also, yeah, they also have different categories for cars, trucks, vans, motorcycles, mopeds. Yes, you're not allowed to even drive a small, not even a full motorcycle, motorized vehicle moped without getting it registered and insured. Now, I hate this map, but I get why they do it. You know why I hate this map? See where Lynn Lake is? I lived there for 5 years. It is not that far north. It's further south than Churchill by a lot. But why did they do this? In fact, it's not very much further north than Flin Flon. It is, and Thompson is south of Flin Flon, I think. I'd have to look at a map, but I think it is. So why did they organize it this way? Well, because they're moving the dots around to show that there is actually 4 territories here. The 4 territories are, if you live in the city of Winnipeg, that's Territory 1. We are our own territory here. All of kind of the smaller cities in the southern half or southern third of the province, whatever, up to about, I guess, up to about Winnipegosis or so, everything south of that. That's all Territory 2. And then Territory 3 is like the north, and to get to these communities, you have to go through some rough roads, although that's not entirely true of Thompson. I honestly don't understand why Thompson and Flin Flon aren't in the same territory, but for some reason they're not. It's a nice highway all the way to both those cities. But by the time you get to the other places up here, Churchill you can't even actually drive to, right? You'd have to have your vehicle shipped there by rail, right? Or I guess it could come in on the boat. It is a port. And of course, Nelson House and Lynn Lake, Leaf Rapids would be up here. They have some rough roads to get up to those places. And then Territory 4 is, you know, kind of the north, but not that far north, like not as bad as getting to some of the places in Territory 3. So there we go. Now, what about if you say, for example, say you lived in Selkirk here, but you drive into the city every day for work? Well, then you fall into the category we call commuters. Someone who lives in Territory 2 but drives into Territory 1 to go to work or school every day has to register as a commuter when they register for their insurance, for their Autopac. And no, you cannot lie about it. It's like, yeah, I live in Selkirk and I never drive to the city. No, you can't do that. You risk not having your claim paid because you lied about your insurance. We'll talk more about that in a bit. If you move from a territory from one place to the other, you have 15 days, just one more day than 2 weeks, to get your driver's license and your registration of your vehicle changed. Okay? And if you don't, again, if you move to somewhere where you know the insurance might cost you a little more money, so you don't tell them about it, and then you get into an accident, they don't have to pay for your claim. That's all on you then, because you lied to your insurance company. Question? That's an excellent question. So what happens if you're in an accident when you're driving in a different province or even in the United States, you are covered under your insurance here in Manitoba. And that, but what happens if you caused the accident where you were? Well, that's actually something that we're going to talk about in just a minute here. First of all, let's talk about driving record. This is one of the big things that determines how much you pay for your insurance. Drivers who maintain a safe driving record for a number of years get a discount on their Autopac premiums. Premium discounts depend on your DSR, driver safety rating. And later on in this class, we're going to look at the actual booklet from Autopac, where it'll explain to you how you get pluses, which we would call merits, and how you get minuses, which we would call demerits. Usually 1 year of accident-free and moving violation-free driving will get you a merit. Okay, so moving violation-free means no speeding tickets, no illegal turns. Parking tickets don't count, right? I mean, they cost you money, obviously, but they don't count against your license, your insurance. But moving violations, right? Things you did to break the laws of the road while you were moving in the car and driving it and operating it, those count against you. And check it out. Most of you probably have just gotten your license recently, so you're over here at 0. This column here, your driver premium, they mean that's how much your license costs. Oops. I misspelled license. So most of you probably realize, yeah, I just paid $45 for my license because you're at level 0. You don't have any experience yet. Notice how fast you rocket down the chain in terms of how much your license costs if you have one speeding ticket that's even a minor one, or say you did something like you caused an accident due to bad driving and they decided the accident was your fault. Suddenly that license that cost you $45 can cost you hundreds, even thousands of dollars. But if you avoid moving violations and getting tickets for speeding and stuff like that, and you don't cause any accidents, you go up the scale pretty quickly. My license cost me $15 because I've maxed out. I'm at the top. Knock on wood. Okay, now, in addition to your license being cheaper, your insurance gets cheaper. Again, if you max out like me, you are getting a 37% discount on your insurance. Okay? And of course, there are no discounts if you're in the negatives. Question?
If you get below a minus from either demerits, is your license taken?
Yeah, I think there are, of course, moving violations that are so severe that they'll just take your license away, period. But if you keep accumulating speeding ticket after speeding ticket after speeding ticket, if you're getting down around here, they will send you to traffic school. And if you get any more beyond that, you'll be on probation and they'll just take your license away. That is correct. Okay, if you incur demerits on your license from driving infractions, again, that's called moving violations, or you accumulate too many at-fault claims, where again, they investigated the accident and said, no, it's your fault. Your safety rating decreases and you must pay for more for your insurance. And that kind of makes sense, right? It's fair. This is not, again, this is a system we all pay into. We have no choice but to pay into it. The government runs it. Kind of makes sense, and it's fair that the people who drive the safest should pay the least. And conversely, the people who drive the lousiest should pay the most. That makes sense to me. Finally, the last factor that determines how much insurance you're paying is how you use your vehicle. What are you driving for? So having the right insurance for how you use your vehicle is important. With the wrong insurance, you may not be covered. There are several different use categories. The two most common ones are pleasure passenger vehicle and all-purpose vehicle. A pleasure passenger vehicle is a passenger vehicle that can't be used for any business purposes. It can only be driven to or from work or school up to 4 days in 1 month and not more than 1,609 kilometers. And if you're wondering why such a weird number, because this rule is so old that it used to be in miles in the 70s, and that's how many kilometers would make 1,000 miles. So there is a fairly significant difference in price. A passenger vehicle insurance is much cheaper than the insurance for all purpose. What if I just registered it as pleasure and drove to work every day and didn't tell them? Well, if you get into an accident, Autopac does have actual insurance adjuster agents who investigate, and if they find out that you were using it to drive to work every day, they don't have to pay to fix your car. It's your problem. You lied to your insurer. Okay? That's against the law. It's a violation of a contract you signed, and it's a very bad idea. Having said that, I know that during the lockdown, right, remember when we were all working from home and stuff, I went and had all 3 of our vehicles changed from all-purpose to pleasure for a few months. Saved me a few bucks, and then the day we had to go back to work, I changed it back. You can do it over the phone. Question? Okay, well, we'll talk about that. So a pleasure vehicle would be, for example, I don't need my vehicle to drive to work. Maybe I'm retired. Maybe I work from home. I just need a vehicle to, go out, get some groceries, do a little shopping, drive to the park with my dog, whatever. Pleasure. It's not for work. So that's it. That's a pleasure vehicle. And all-purpose means it's my work vehicle and my pleasure vehicle. And there are some more specific ones, like a carrier passenger. Say that your job is to move people around with your vehicle, then there's a slightly higher level of insurance you'd have to get. Farm passenger vehicle, again, farm all-purpose truck has a different, because again there are risks to the damage of the truck from the actual job of farming itself, so their insurance premium on that's going to be a little higher. You can get a pleasure truck. A pleasure truck would be something like, hey, I just have this thing parked and I only use it a few times a year to drive the boat to the cabin, and otherwise it's, or every once in a while I need to haul some material or something. That's a pleasure truck. You're not using it every day. It's not even the car you'd use or the vehicle you'd use every time you want to go shopping and pick up groceries. It's something you'd literally use only a few times a year, right? So that has its own insurance. But an all-purpose truck, again, trucks, they tend to be, people use them a little harder, right? They are going to break down more often, and they are a greater risk. So they are insured a little more expensively. Motorhomes, motorcycles, mopeds, trailers, they all have their own categories. For us, we're just going to kind of focus on pleasure and all-purpose. All right. The other factors that impact the cost of insuring your vehicle, this one is so common now, there's probably people here who've never been in a vehicle that didn't have one of these, and that's an immobilizer. Well, okay, I know there's some people who drive older cars. I said some people in here. Every car made since about 2005 or 6, it's standard. If you're wondering what the immobilizer is, have you noticed that? See your car key. I'm holding up a car key. People watching this vehicle, this at home. Notice your car key has this wide, big, plastic, chunky key. This part here. There's a chip in there, and your engine cannot start unless this chip is in the vehicle. Unless you really know what you're doing. If you go back to the 1980s, car thefts were really, really prevalent. In fact, in the 1990s, they started making it mandatory. Your insurance was invalid if you didn't get a metal bar that you put across your steering wheel and locked it. You've probably still seen some of these kicking around. Maybe your parents still have one in the garage or something. And if you didn't have that on your car and your car got stolen, MPI didn't have to pay for your claim. That was the rule that you had to have it. And the reason is because maybe you've seen it on TV and in the movies. It used to be reasonably easy to steal a car. You could crack into the steering column, take the wires that would normally, when you turn the key, it completes the circuit. Well, pull out those wires and complete the circuit yourself by tying them together. You could literally train a 10-year-old how to start a car and steal it. That's not so true anymore. Now it takes a significant amount of technical knowledge and skill to steal a car with an immobilizer, a modern vehicle. So obviously, if you have an immobilizer, theft is a much less likely thing to have happen to your vehicle, so we don't insure it for as much. Okay? Just like in home insurance, one thing that costs you more is if you want a lower one of these. Now the morning class forgot what that word meant. Do you guys remember what that word means? That's right. If you forgot that, you could write this down. If you remember it, don't bother. But it's basically the fee you pay to make a claim. Make a claim. Do you remember what it was for houses, for home insurance? It was usually $500, and if you wanted to pay for $200, you had to pay more. Cars start at $750 for a deductible, but almost nobody wants that. So usually most people pay it down to either $500 or $200 again. Okay? Here is the one we were just talking about. What if you drove to the States, caused an accident, and now people want to sue you because, you know, they have a private system down there? Well, we have what's called third-party liability. And this takes a little bit of explaining. First of all, what does the word party mean? You get together some friends, some music, some chips. No, parties are just the people or the companies involved in a contract. This is all about legalities. The person who buys the insurance policy, the customer, is party number one. The person who sold it, or the company who sold it, the insurer, party number two. So a third party is somebody who isn't the person who's paying for the insurance, isn't the company that sold you the insurance, it's somebody else. Third party, someone who is not not the insurer or insuree. So again, my company's the insurer, I'm the insuree, I just drove my car into a brick wall, I'm hurt. I'm the first party, my insurance should help cover me. But the passenger sitting next to me isn't the insurer, isn't the insuree. If they're hurt, they're a third party, and I hopefully have some coverage in my insurance policy so that their medical costs and loss of work is financially compensated for. So that's third-party liability. That's what that means. Next, you could have, and this one's optional. You have to have some. You have to have a deductible. You have to have some third-party liability, but it's completely optional if you want loss of use coverage. Right? If your vehicle's wrecked tomorrow, it could take months before it gets fixed completely or totally. So you need a vehicle to get you to and from work every day. 40-something bucks a day, I think, is what you get from your insurance company to rent something so you can get to work. Okay. And finally, how much you pay. This one's minor. MPIC is not looking, they're not a loan company, they're not a bank, they're not looking to make money on interest, but they do charge you a little bit of interest if you don't just pay it when it's due. My mom, she goes down to the bank the day that it's due and she writes a check and hands it over, and there's her year's insurance paid for. Almost nobody does that. Most of us are either on a quarterly payment or a monthly payment. So your payment option will affect the price a little. If you're like me and you pay it monthly, they're hitting you with a few bucks of interest. It's not a lot. I don't think it's even 20 bucks for the year.
Yearly payment insurance for my car is $100.
Okay, that's what we're going to do next, actually. Let's. That actually is the end of the notes, but before we leave the actual lesson, let's use the MPI website. So we're going to go to the MPI's website right here, the insurance rate calculator. All right, does anybody have a vehicle in mind that they are thinking of buying? What are you thinking of? No, let's get something a little more modern than that. 1974. No, let's.
2021 Subaru BRZ.
Okay, so we're going to go with a 2021, and then list makes, and Subaru, he said?
Yeah.
I like Subarus. I'm a Toyota guy, but I like Subarus. Subaru, yeah, I guess corporately they're similar entities, right? Vehicle model. So which one did you say?
BRZ.
The BRZ. I don't even have that on here. Is that like, why don't we just pick a Crosstrek or something? That's pretty similar, right?
No.
Oh no, that's is that their sport thing? You want a Chevy Impala? Okay, we'll do that one next. All right, I'm gonna take a Crosstrek, and we'll go with the sport model. You know, the smaller one. So we'll go with the Crosstrek Sport, and it might ask me some more specific questions. First of all, it's going to ask, do you live in Manitoba? We're going to say yes. Postal code, we'll use the school, R3T3B3. Verify that's true. Continue. And we're stuck. Apparently. Oh, there we go. Okay, now, what is it used for? It's asking, and I'm going to say all purpose. We're going to drive this to work and school every day. All purpose. Okay? Next. All right. Let's assume that it's like you guys. We just got our license. We don't have a discount rate yet. So we'll say no discount yet. Let's take the smallest, let's take the, again, almost nobody wants a $750 deductible. Let's go with a $500 deductible. And third-party liability, the least you can have is $500,000, so we'll go with that. Most people actually pay for the $2 million one. That way, if you caused an accident that injured multiple people, you know that you won't be sued personally because your insurance will be able to pay for it. That's the idea with why you'd go with like, what could I possibly do that would cause $2 million in damage? What, am I going to accidentally drive my car through the museum or something? What's going to happen? No, it's more about covering people's medical bills if you caused an accident and injured multiple people. That's what it's about. Would I like loss of use coverage? You bet I would. There you go. There's the number. I didn't know it off the top of my head. It's $47.04 a day that you get paid to help you rent something to drive to work. 4704. All right. Is this a brand new vehicle? Well, no. So I don't really need brand new vehicle protection or leased vehicle protection. Remember the video we watched the other day? The second you drive a car off the new car lot, it's lost 10% or so. So if you were to buy a brand new car and get into an accident in the first month or two, the financial hit you'd take from that would be significant. So that's what this new vehicle protection is. Once a vehicle is a couple years old, you wouldn't even think about it. And if you have a vehicle that's worth more than $70,000, and that sounds like a big number, but nowadays there's pickup trucks that are worth more than that. So this, do you remember that scale for home insurance where up to $200,000 you pay this number, and then for every $1,000 after that there's a rate? Notice this scale works the same way. For every $1,000 you go past $70,000, you have to pay a certain rate. So you have to count how many thousands you are past $70,000. Now we don't have to do that for this vehicle, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to say calculate, and I'm going to say I want to pay monthly. And there we go. That is a $2,155 per year or $180 a month insurance. Okay, want to do one more? You want to do the Chevy Impala? All right, let's do the Chevy Impala. What year are you looking at?
1990.
Not that old.
It's not that old.
2019. 2019. Let's go. Hey, you know what? Let's use the rule we learned in that video the other day. Never buy a car that is less than blank years old.
5 years.
5. You avoid the biggest hit in depreciation if you stick to the 5 rule. So let's go 2018, 5 years ago. So 2018, Chevy is Chevrolet, in case you didn't know that.
Rolls Royce goes. Really?
Some people didn't know that. Chevy, and I forget, what did you say, a Malibu? No, what did you say? Impala. Okay, Impala. Okay, let's say you want the cruiser. You want the V6, the big engine, so you can pass people on the highway. So there we go. And yes, we still live at the school. And we would like an all-purpose. Okay, now what are you going to guess? Is it more or less than the one we just did?
Less.
Should be quite a bit less, I would think. So again, we'll stick with all these options being the same. Yeah, the Subaru is both a foreign vehicle, which means that its parts are more expensive to fix. And by foreign, I mean it's not North American made, right? Chevrolet is a North American company. Subaru is Japanese. So, and this is a bit older, and it's smaller. I mean, it has a bigger engine. But I feel like this will be, I feel like this should be significantly cheaper. Let's check it out. Oh, not as much cheaper as I thought. Only, what, $100? That was a little surprising. All right, anyway, that's how that website works. If over the next few days, and of course when we get our vehicle financing project next week, we will be using this site to do some of the questions. So there we go. That's today's lesson. You can now work on assignment 3B, and for that, you're going to go to my blog. Hang on, let me just open the blog. And on my blog, actually you don't even need to go to the blog. You could Google this. But if you go to my blog, I put a link on the blog, and you are going to go to the 2022 Autopac Guide. and answer questions on the worksheet I'm about to hand out. So that's today. That's what you have the rest of class today to do. You're going to go to this website right here, if it ever loads. Come on, you. And yeah, I don't care about dark mode. There we go. We're going to do the 2022 Autopac guide. So there we go. That's the end of today's video.